Marcus Garvey. I feel his soul from head to toe, leading and feeding my body. I stick to the code, I never fold, no weapon on earth can harm me. God bless my foes, I'm out of control, teaching this God body. I'm reaching my God body, deeper than Bob Marley. Racing with Ricky Bobby. We street tested and invest in a wide body, no rest. The streets are test, but we risk it and connect with Poppy Divine. But we do in time, cause our lines was moving sloppy. They watch me, they wanna pop me, they watch me, I swear they watch me. I'm Islam mixed with the hustle, I'm Malcolm in a Maserati. I'm chasing elevation, frustrating Illuminati. I'm Huey leading the Panthers with answers, no one can stop me. I broke the code of the Matrix, it's basic, I'm printing copies. I'm repping for Harriet Tubman, she got me, they'll never knock me. And it's they'll never knock me. I know she got me.
Step on the stairway to heaven. I'm coming as one, but guarded by 11. My whole circle driven, and all of us brethren. We using our visions as tools for manifesting. Manifesting all types of blessings. And I can't say the last time this brother seen a reverend. It's been a while since I sat down on the pew, but I can keep my head down, stay on the grind and pay my dues. Hey, I can spot a mountain, I can climb it too. I can spot a broken bridge and replace the missing screws. See a team of young kings and lace them with some Jews. I can play the game of life, hey, and never really lose. I could pull up in a photo coupe with no fumes. I can live a whole life and never see a tomb. I can find the right wife and forever be a groom. I can plant a million seeds and watch a million blooms. Stay in tune. Stay in tune.
God vibes only. God vibes.
Richie on the beats.
Do my meditation, but focus on breathing. Inhale and exhale a breath, allowing the peace to relieve me. I'm burning my sage, clearing my space of the negative. Sit comfortably in my seat, close my eyes, that's how it is. Focus and concentration, observing my breath. Ignoring all thoughts that's blocking me, yeah, man.
You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace. You are now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Herut, and got my good brother here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Peace, brother. Living, learning, and applying. How about yourself, man?
Hey, man, no complaints here, man. Just, trying to take it to the next level, man, like my brother over here.
Hey, man. If I had your hand, I'd trade mine in, man.
I told you, I cut mine off, man. Indeed. But before we get too far, I want to remind you all, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you share this with your people or whatnot, and hit that notification bell too or whatnot so you can know when we got things going on. We got a lot of, just from the channel in general, not even just isolated to Cosmic Convos. We got a lot of other little things that's about to be happening and stuff like that. So we're trying to grow this thing and take it to the next level and build this, this strong media empire or whatnot, and take, and do all that good stuff like that. But as usual, this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group, Calapusha Astrology, and our good people over there on Patreon. Big up to y'all. Big up to the patrons, for everybody who want to, definitely, support what we're doing and everything like that. Be on the lookout. We was one show short last week, so we're going to pick that up this week. And we got some other things planned as well. Part 2 for one of the shows we did on there as well. Finding the chart for Black America. We're looking into some historical records and stuff like that, trying to find some times and different things like that, because Ron and I was talking about, we're looking to do that show real soon. So the patrons, you get an opportunity to come in and, maybe you could throw us a document or something like that we can't find or something like that to help you fine tune what we're doing even more. It's just a good exercise or whatnot. But if you're listening out there, you found us on one of the audio platforms or anything like that, you can check this out live on Wednesday evenings on YouTube. Just search Cosmic Convos Podcast, and you can find us there. And also, if you're not following us on social media, follow us on social media. On Instagram, we're at Cosmic Convo. That's CosmicConvo on Instagram. And from there, you can find everything that we got going on. You can follow at Push It Forward, at PUSHITFWD. That's the Push It Forward media group. And you can find all the other podcasts for the Push It Forward Podcast Network. And, interact with us, connect with us and stuff like that, and so we can, help, expand and,
like I said, take things to the next level. Brother Ra, how can the people get a hold of you?
Via Shechem Ra on IG or Facebook, or Kalaprusha Astrology at gmail.com.
Nice and sweet, nice and sweet. Or what now? You got that on that website getting closer, right?
Every day. It's a shitra thing. You know what it is.
Indeed, 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 indeed. And you got some classes coming up and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, all three levels. In fact, first classes will be beginning on the 14th of August. Um, my classes are held Saturdays and Sundays. So 14th of August, 15th of August will be level 1, level 2, and level 3. So if you feel like you have gotten the science down enough to where you have a good fundamental understanding and want to go to the next level, definitely get at me. Level 3 is all that in a bag of chips, because we get into some serious heavy techniques and applications of the science. Level 2 is really more of really getting your fine tuning of the science, and then level 1, of course, is just getting your feet wet, getting acclimated to the terms, concepts, and ideas. So if you're interested, definitely hit me up on Facebook, on IG, or send me an email.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Yeah, man. Or whatnot. Definitely check into those classes, man. We trying to change the paradigm or whatnot. We the newcomers into this astrological media space, and we trying to change the tide, trying to change the way how people approach the subject. So definitely check out those classes, and you could be a champion of this world view as well or whatnot. But yeah, man. So we're here at episode 13. Big up to us. Episode 13 of season 4 or whatnot. Like I said, we're trucking along. We're over the halfway point for season 4. So we're right on schedule. Got some good things going on and stuff like that. Last episode, we got into our good brother, Dr. Dre, man. I had some, pretty good feedback on that episode. What about you? What did you hear?
Everybody liked that episode. That was really, everybody gave a lot of good feedback on that. Said it was really succinct and to the point. And I mean, it literally looks like him. You know what I mean? So definitely all good.
Indeed, man. I mean, yeah, man. You can't. I mean, sometimes the charts are just like boom, right there, man. It looks like a bull. You know what I mean, especially even more now that he's older, man. The way he start getting in shape, the way that just he filled out and stuff like that whole torso, the way how it's just right there laid out, and the whole wop, man. So yeah, man, I say definitely much gratitude for the science and everything like that, man. It should
Yeah, the science is dope. We're gonna see how even more so today, right? With a living legend, or not a living legend, but a legend, right? That
absolutely
left us a legacy. That's what legends do, and this is no exception to the rule here. This is absolutely 100% equivocably, hands down, right? This man's chart,
right.
and he and I, Harut and I have looked at some conjectures around the time, and what we're going to see today is this man is truly an Aries ascendant, right? Bar none, right?
Indeed.
Without a doubt, right?
Indeed.
I've
So
looked at it from those ascendants we talked about, and we're going to see why, right? That's an impossibility.
right.
So without further ado, right, let's get started.
Indeed.
So today's topic, or source of topic, is Dr. Martin Luther King, and
Big ups to MLK.
definitely an interesting chart. A lot of powerful placements, and as such, with a man that comes with such a history, a rich history, within a short time. You know, we were talking about how, look at this man you see him, you don't see it. I don't see a 39-year-old man. I'm in my 40s, right? And so, you know, the the character of this individual is aged and matured and serious. And we're going to see why in a second, as to why all those serious, matured energies would be really the kind of signature of what his um, speeches, his marches, all those things that he portrayed have a sense of uh, keen sobriety.
Right.
And sobriety, you know, really only comes by way of one planet. But before we go down that avenue, let's talk a little bit about the basis of who he is. And he's born January 15th, 1929. And being such, you know, it puts him as an Aries ascendant, born at 12 o'clock. Now, that is fairly rare. And that's why a lot of people question the time. But I'm going to tell you, people are born at 12 o'clock, right? It
Of
happens,
course.
right? I have
Of
I
course.
have oodles of charts to show you that, you know, these times are real. This is something that happens. So 12 o'clock is not something far fetched, provided that the data matches and the chart succinct in with the events. So it puts him as an Aries ascendant. He's a dayborn child, meaning that, you know, dayborn children are typically born very active, but very aware. And so he's Aries ascendant, and Aries, as we all know, right, is a fighter. You know, they're ones that champion causes.
Right.
Right. You know, many times Aries is the energy of athleticism, but not always. I know many Aries that are not athletes, but I do know for certain that they have what we consider, all of them have what we consider an indomitable spirit, one that's one you can't fatigue, one you can't tire out. You know, the Aryan energy is almost like a wellspring. It just keeps going and going and going and going, like the Energizer bunny. It doesn't stop. It's a relentless energy. And, you know, given the 39 years that he lived, every day of his life from when he began his, I don't want to say ministry, but when he began his journey, right? The man, bar none, right, has been a fighter the whole time. Now, how you fight is one thing, right? But fighting in and of itself is one of the titles that you could put over his tombstone. This man fought, right, for X, Y, and Z, right? Fought for civil rights, fought for, you know, black people, fought um, um, for justice.
Right.
So, you know, that's not that's not a Cancerian energy, right? That's not a Scorpionic energy. You know, see, Scorpio, it's ruled by Mars, but it comes in short bursts, right? All that energy is packed into a very small increment of time, even shorter than Aries. Aries is burst of energy, but it's more sustained. It's externalized, right? Scorpio is internalized. This man was external, right? He came to the world to bring the world from a place of being lesser than to being greater than. And one of the things about Aries also is that they don't take no for an answer usually, right? So those sit-ins, those marches, right? The recompense that they received didn't wasn't a deterrent. Right? That's Aries, bar none. Now, he's the specific part of Aries that he's under is Baharani or Barney. Depends on how you say it. Can be said either way. But Baharani is ruled by Yama, the god of death, right? And Yama, you know, Yama is the one that makes you pay your see, the thing is that nakshatras, when you begin to understand the energies that are behind them, you'll see a nakshatra that says one thing, but it kind of carries the energy of something else. So, like for example, Pushya, which is in Cancer from 3 degrees 20 minutes to 16 degrees 40 minutes. Pushya is ruled by Saturn and it's in Cancer, but it really holds the energy of Jupiter, of
Right.
Brihaspati, right? Well, Baharani or Bharani is similar in that it's Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and it's Venus ruled, but it has the similar signatures of Saturn, right? Similar signatures of Saturn because Yama is like Saturn, right? Very serious, as in his energy, very sober, right? Able to bear a lot of weight. What Baharani means, like Baharani, bear, to bear things, right? So to be able to literally hold it down, right, with regards to carrying that energy to completion. Aries, doesn't like to complete things many times, but Bharani, a lot of is one of the energies that will allow Aries to bring things to completion. Now, one of the other things it will bring is that it makes the person bring things out of people or out of situations. I mean, it brings things to a head, like death, right? It brings things to a point where you're going to have to face reality. Like, it's one of the energies that deals in like reparations. Like you owe something, you need to pay.
Right.
Baharani will make you pay it. So the ascendant and the ascendant degree both bespeak to the energies that he carried in his life, the energies that he displayed, bar none, right? Bar none. The ascendant itself, the ruler, wherever the ruler is how you are or what you identify with. It's kind of like it shapes the major aspect of what you realize yourself to be from the beginning. And the ascendant Lord is in the second house, right? Family values, tradition, right? One of the things that it also makes available is the ability to control your speech or to use your speech in a very conscious and in deliberate way. The other thing is that if you look at Mars in the second house is with Rahu. One of the things that Rahu does in the second house, it amplifies the speech, right?
And that voice is we were
That
just talking
voice
about.
is that voice is classic, right? You hear that man's voice, you know he has a signature voice, right? You know his voice. If you heard it on a speech, you know that's Martin Luther King, right?
Right.
His speeches, literally, his speeches are what he gained much of his notoriety for.
I don't know an activist today that has a voice to even match, not even close, or any type of whatever you want, like a social justice warrior,
No,
however you want to put it. You hear people try to put on like that, but it's like you can tell it's not
it
authentic.
falls flat.
It falls very flat. He's young with that delivery
That
like that.
power, yeah, that power in his voice, right? That's the second house, folks. The second house is your vocal cords, your ability, your speech, not your communications. So you can communicate without speaking,
Right.
right? Right? And you can speak without communicating. But right, the speech is how it sounds, the tone, the cadence, right? The if it's harsh, if it's rough, if it's raspy, all of those are things that are imputing on the second house. And so you can see Mars as the position, the planet of power, one of the planets of power, and Rahu, which literally spreads or inflates or makes things broader or bigger in context. It makes the voice bigger, right? So bar none, this is who this man is. Now, back in the ascendant, and we titled it, what brought dreams to MLK? Well, if you take a good look, Jupiter is there. And on a mundane level, on a Christian level, an Islamic level, right? Um, Jupiter is the planet of hope, right? Planet of hope,
Optimism.
right? Optimism, definitely, right? But in the sense of religion, right? In the sense of faith, right? Jupiter brings just that. It brings
Right.
faith and hope, right? But it also rules the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of what? Dreams, right? It's where we sleep. It's where you regenerate. It's your bed. So that 12th Lord being the planet of hope, the planet of possibility, the planet of correction, right? Brings that dream to him directly. And he brings the dream to us through his speech. Right? So clearly showing that I have a dream speech was one that really was heartfelt and from a place, right, that was really um, tucked away, and he allows to see inside of his his projection of the future, which maybe one day, possibly, right, equality, which puts us on an equilibrium, will be the order of the day. That's a Jupiterian thing, folks. Right? That's what Jupiter brings. This is the promise that we will be able to self-correct, live truth, live accordance to a higher law, a higher standard. And that's literally what the man espoused. That's what his whole get-up was, right? To take us to a promised land that we would one day hopefully be able to have something of our own. So,
Right.
right, Jupiter and the 12th Lord in the ascendant by way of Jupiter does just that. Right? So understanding that he was born in a Jupiter dasha, which means that from the very beginning of life, right, spirituality or really religion, right, righteousness has been over him, has been a calling card for him to pull out of his subconscious. And so that calling card, right, when it's in the ascendant, it means that it becomes a part of your identity, becomes a part of your personality makeup, where you become an espouser of what? Of truth,
Truth.
of religion, of God, whatever you want to call it. Jupiter holds all those things, and it's in the ascendant, which carves him out to be just that, a preacher, a teacher. You could say even a guru, right? Now, the thing is that, you know, what brings a person to prominence? What brings a person to do what they do, right? Why do they do what they do? Well, before we get into that, remember I said earlier that this man has a lot of mature energy. Well, if you take a good look, 4 of his planets, right, are in Saturn ruled signs. You have Sun and Mercury in Capricorn, and you have Venus and Moon in Aquarius. The sun and the moon are considered personal planets. So that means they shape the personality a great deal. And that shaping is shaped in the form of a mature, older, more wiser individual.
Right.
That's where you get that. Look at the man's picture. That does not look like a 39-year-old man looking back at you.
I don't even think he's 39 in that picture.
I don't even think, no, he's probably not.
He's probably-
But he's looking back at you from those stoic, old Saturnian type of eyes. Remember, the second Lord, which rules the face, is in a Saturn ruled sign. So that's going to make him appear and have a countenance that's even older. Now Mars is there, would you say would make it youthful? Well, remember Rahu is also there, and Rahu acts like what planet?
Saturn.
Saturn. So it's gonna age that face a lot. So as you can see, this man, right, bar none, not only the appearance and the countenance, not only the what he does as a teacher, as a preacher, as an espouser for civil rights or for rights, which is Jupiter, rules, laws, right? But the Saturnian energy was so heavy on him, right, that literally, right, as a young man, he had an old soul. This is one of those that you would say he has an old soul. And so um, all those planets being in Saturnian ruled signs, right, gives him the disposition to have a sober mind, a sober disposition, right? One that can endure and handle heavy loads, like his ascendant degree, right? Definitely can handle heavy loads, right? Right, exactly, right. Be not be judged the content of your character, not by your skin. That's a Jupiterian thing, folks. That's what that does, right? It sees beyond the external into the internal, which is an abstract thought processes, which is what Ma'at or Jupiter helps us do. So,
Right.
um, going deeper into this, I mean, if you look at it, Saturn's in the ninth house. What does that mean? That means he takes his spirituality, relationship with the Most High, and laws and morals very serious. Very serious. You hear me? Very serious, right? That heartfelt matter of religion is something that he would die for, right?
Right.
Saturn makes you stand on your laurels, stand on your square. It makes you hold the ground. Saturn is like an old stoic teacher that makes you live what it is that you say, right? See, Jupiter is the one that gives you all the theories, and it is one that espouses the truth. But Saturn is the one that says, no, you're going to live it or else, right? You're going to follow the rules, right? Or deal with some rough consequences. Saturn doesn't allow a lot of wiggle room in the ninth house. So it being in the sign of Sagittarius, also again, Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter goes to the ascendant. Jupiter still holds a lot of that Saturnian energy as well because it rules Saturn. So
Right.
again, right, this is just showing you, right, the seriousness and the dedication that this man had to living his truth, to living out what he proclaimed to be as the right way to go. Whether or not we disagree or agree, that's another story, right? But I ask any one of you, do you think you could have stood in his shoes for a moment, right? Granted, remember, you couldn't attack anyone back. You had to be a pacifist. You had to literally allow whatever came your way to come your way and to not retaliate or to do harm back. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy. And it is strange where he got it from because the person that he got it from didn't do it in the way that he did it. Gandhi did not apply the same, he applied the same principles, but in different circumstances, which reveals a different outcome, right? Gandhi's um, way of doing things is not what you think, right? It's not as passive as it seems, right? If
Right.
I set 100 people in front of a highway, right, that's the kind of passive activism that Gandhi participated in. If I was to sit in front of a highway, I'm not talking about a store to sit with you. See, in India, they could care less about sitting with somebody because it was their country.
Right.
What they cared about is the export of human resources and goods, right? The exploitation of that land and people by the Europeans, by the British. And they sat in on highways, they sat in on major, right, construction projects. They sat in on things that would gum up and stop, right, the British from making any type of headway. That's not what happened with the Martin Luther King Jr. passive activism. That's a different thing. And so we are not in, well, Africans were not in a position of power to enact that type of passive activism. And so a good a good approach, but misapplied in the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong people. So he meant well, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So right, but nonetheless, I wouldn't ask to stand in his shoes. Right, I wouldn't ask to be attacked by dogs, knowing I can't kick the dog back. Right, that just
Yeah.
right. That's a hard road to follow, and a noble one. But again, right, this is how he's built. So if someone's built that way, they're gonna fight the way they're built. They're not gonna fight the way Ra's built. They're not gonna fight the way a Tef is built. They're gonna fight the way they're constructed and they know how best. Right. And I
Right.
can't fault him for that. Right.
Right.
Um, just a little bit more research, I think probably gone a long way, and maybe he would have modified it to where we could have used that passive activism in a much more concise and controlled and effective way. But nonetheless, I digress on that. Back to the chart at hand, the actual point of which he began to really do what he did, right? And if you understand how this works, there's periods that are going to open the doors. He's born during a Jupiter dasha, right? Right. So that means that Jupiter can't fulfill the role of being, the person, the being the source that gives out the knowledge and the wisdom and the information to the people.
Right.
Right. That period was only a bleep, and he's too young to maximize from it. See, this is the beauty of this system, is that the karma they're going to tell you when the karmic button is going to be pushed, if it will be pushed, and when, and how. Like the whole karmic setup is there for you to read. So let's read what happens. He is in a Jupiter dasha, right, from the beginning of birth for a very short period, and then he goes into a Saturn dasha. Well, isn't that something? He's in a Saturn dasha and he gives off that Saturnian type energy, right? So
Right.
serious young man. You see what I mean? Right? A serious young man.
Yeah. Most of his life was.
Saturn,
Yeah. Yeah. It was most of his life was that period.
right? You come on, y'all. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I just said he got 3 4 planets in Saturn. Jupiter carries a Saturnian backdrop, and then now he runs a Saturn dasha within the context of his early years, all the way up until he's a man, right? That's heavy load, y'all. That's heavy. That's heavy, right? That's a heavy life. I mean, and he was a brilliant man, very intelligent, very intelligent, right? Yes, people say he was Boule. Yeah, he was, right? A lot of
Boule is more common than what people think. Yeah, I mean,
it
we
very
yeah.
especially in that era. Yeah, in
I
that
mean, but
era, it was very common. Yeah,
here in Atlanta is I mean, I have a lot of clients who are Boule and stuff like that. It's a lot of people, well-to-do black people are a part of those
they
organizations.
are.
Not secret. It's
They
not
are.
secret. It's not secret society
No, no,
on
no. It's
that
not a
level.
secret society. No,
Yeah.
no. And so he was a part of Fraternal Order. I think it was Omega Psi Phi, if I'm correct. Right.
I'm not sure.
Um, I think either Mega or Alpha, one of the two. Right. So but he went through college. Right. Did very well during the Saturn Dasha, and Saturn's in the ninth house. Right. In plain sight, exactly. Right. Saturn's in the ninth house, folks. That's higher knowledge. That's doctor
Right.
level stuff. Dr. Martin Luther King. He is a doctor. Consider he's a doctor, right? And he's a young man. I mean, that's heavy stuff, right? So he goes through Saturn Dasha, and he ends up, and if you do a little research, right? If you read Wikipedia, it says that the beginning of the civil rights movement began in November of 1955. If you take a look at the Dasha scheme, look when he goes into the Mercury period. Now, before we even go there, Mercury is the planet that gives him that speech, right? That talking, that ability to carry across message to the masses, right? It's in the 10th house, folks. The 10th house is the house of leadership, the house that literally gives you awards, Nobel Peace Prizes, right? Nobel Peace Prizes aren't just, you don't get them just because, right? It's not an easy thing to pull off. So he gets these things when he runs or begins his Mercury Dasha, and it's crazy that the civil rights movement starts almost simultaneously with regards to that particular placement, that particular time scale. That's uncanny. I mean, go, you don't believe me? Go look for yourself. Go look. It's going to tell you November 1955 is when it began to jump off. The SCLC and I think the other, I can't remember the other organization, they began to plot on the boycotts.
Got
So,
some trolls in the building. Huh? I'm trying to get this.
right. So,
Yeah,
consider, right? Consider, right? That's something that you can't undo, you can't unravel, you can't do away. That's Mercury Dasha in the 10th house,
right.
folks. I mean, that's magical. That's magical. Not only that, Mercury, right, aspects the fourth house, right? And by Mercury aspecting the fourth house, right, that means that education becomes primal, right? Meaning that during his educational processes, he would do very well. So considering, right, Mercury is the jump off. Mercury is what he does. That's what he does best. Is speeches, talking, conveying the truth, speaking truth to power. Mercury is in there with the sun, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
Speaking truth to power. Right. Not only that, the moon, right? The moon itself is the mentality and the mindset of an individual. It's in Aquarius in the 11th house. Now, you got to consider, right? The fourth lord, the fourth house, is what brings you satisfaction. It's what you love. What is the 11th? And also, the fourth house, the fourth lord, is your homeland and your people. So, what does he love? His moon goes to the what house? The 11th house.
Math house.
He loves what?
The masses. All the people.
Yep. Right. Specifically, his own people as well, because
Right.
Venus is conjunct the fourth lord.
Right.
Venus is what you also appreciate and love as well. And he loves the fourth lord, which is his people. Aquarius is downtrodden, right? The underdog, the person
Right.
that's the low man on the totem pole. That's what Aquarius espouses. That's what it upholds. That's what it uplifts. It's an egalitarian disposition where everybody is equal. That is what he was about. His mindset was that way. His heart was built that way. Right? You can't get any better than that, folks. This is bar none what happens when you have a chart that produces these type of qualities. You have a spiritual leader, you have a religious or a political, some type of leadership is coming, right? When Sun and Mercury occupy this type of position, the chart is very well situated for a person to take leadership. Sun in the
Oh yeah.
10th house does that as well. And here's the crazy part. Most people don't know, and you'll learn in the classes. You think, see, you would think that the sun dasha would give all of the accolades and power, right? It doesn't. It's the planet that's with the sun that gives it. Isn't that weird? Right? That you would think like the sun dasha would be the one that you would look for to make a world leader. Nope.
Yeah.
It's Mercury. I'm telling you. And it's crazy how it works, but it works. Anytime, so for example, I ran my Jupiter dasha, right? My Jupiter dasha was fairly okay. It was a good dasha. It was a fairly powerful dasha. I mean, I gained a lot of knowledge, but my Saturn dasha leaves it in comparison by far. Saturn dasha is like 4 times my Jupiter dasha, but they aspect one another. They aspect that there's an aspect, a strong aspect, but nonetheless, you would think the Jupiter dasha would bring me more knowledge. The Saturn dasha does because Jupiter aspects Saturn. So Saturn brings it all in. It's whatever the planet is whatever planet is being aspected or with that planet is produces the results. So you think like, for example, a person that, for example, you say, let's say Jupiter is well placed in the 10th house and it's next to the moon. The moon dasha is the one that you look for to give the results of the Jupiterian, right, accolades or gifts. It's not Jupiter. I know this is strange the way it works, but it's like the other one takes the energies of that planet for itself and it produces what the planet would produce. Strange rules to this game, but it works every time. That's why the Mercury Dasha did what it did. Right? The fifth lord is Sun. Sun is the fifth lord is a very powerful lord. It's with Mercury in the 10th. That means that Mercury gets the status of kind of being like the fifth lord or the ruler of the fifth. It gives that profound fifth house things are profound, deep thinking, right? Awe-inspiring, mind-changing, right? That's what the fifth house produces. So literally, this man's mind, Mercury, was very profound.
Right.
And the fifth lord combines with the third lord, and the third lord is the house of the ruler of communications, self-expression. Then we can talk about writing those speeches out, right? So bar none, this is all set up perfectly so that you can see, right? This is who he is. This is his destiny. This is his chart. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, how did the Mercury Dasha take him out if it's so powerful, right? And it makes sense. I wondered it myself, right? I wondered it myself. But let me show you what happens. Can you pull up the transits? Or matter of fact, I think I might have it up already. If you go to the date of April 4th, 1868, and that was at 1801 exactly when he was shot. He was shot in Memphis, Tennessee. Let me know if you want to share. I can share my screen with you.
I got it about pulled up
Cool.
right now.
Cool. All right. So if you take a look, take a look. Look at what's going on here. Look at the ascendant, first of all. The ascendant is in Virgo, isn't it? Right?
Right.
That means that at the time when he was shot, the time frame was that there was an enemy at bay for him. Because 6th house is what? Enemies. But the enemy, right, wasn't so readily apparent. Why? Because the 12th house, which is where those 5 planets are placed, is the house of hidden enemies. So he was facing an enemy, that was what?
Hidden.
Hidden,
He didn't see it. Yeah.
right? Now, people say, well, it still doesn't make any sense, Ra, why this would happen. I want you to take a look at some very key planets here. If you look at Saturn, what is the degree of Saturn? Should be 2 degrees, right?
Yeah.
Sag, right?
Yep.
Why don't you take a look at Uranus on the day of? Now remember, I
3,
said Uranus can produce results if it's in within what?
1 degree.
Where is Uranus at that day?
3 degrees, 5 minutes.
And what is across from Uranus in the 12th house, natally speaking?
Nate, in the transit is Uranus.
No, in the natal,
Oh, in the natal,
Uranus is right there in the 12th.
yeah,
What's the degree?
it is 11.
Uranus is 11 degrees, right?
Right.
Okay. So well, I thought it was a little closer than that. I don't know why I thought Uranus would be closer. But nonetheless, if you look in the transits, right, what degree is Mercury?
3.
There's that degree, that's that tight degree, right? Though that Mercury being squared natal Saturn, right? And in direct opposition in transit from Uranus, that's a T square. That's a very challenging square. And Mars, which is still the eighth lord, is right on the ascendant. He dies
Right.
by a gunshot wound to the what? I believe
Head.
to the head, right? It might be wrong. It might be the body, right?
Let's see.
Might be the chest area. Is either the head or chest. I'm pretty sure. No, it's the chest. It's the chest. It wasn't the head. It was the chest. Right. The chest area is where he encumbered the bullet. If Mars is in the ascendant, it aspects 4 away. 4 away is the 4th house, which is the chest area. Right. So that was more than likely, right, that Mars being in the ascendant aspect in the 4th house.
It hit him in the jaw.
It was the head.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So that Mars is key tell all, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Mars is at 12 degrees. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Said bullet struck him in the jaw and severed his spinal cord.
Woo. So it almost went right through. If you look at it, it almost went right through that bullet. I mean, that's the body. That's the physical body, isn't it? That's the head right there. Right. And then, yeah, you can't get any more precise than that. So, yes, the dasha was Mercury, but Mercury was an enemy planet, right? Mercury's not all that great for Aries ascendant, folks. It's not a great planet. It rules an upachaya, rules what is called upachaya houses, which are houses that get better over time, but it's still considered malefic to some degree. And when it's in a malefic dasha, and then you have at that transit time Virgo as the ascendant, and what rules Virgo? Mercury. Mercury is in the 12th house of loss, right? So this is what happened, right? I mean, consider all of those planets in the 12th house. That means that man was set up, folks. They were waiting on him. That man was set up. He was assassinated. Seriously, I mean, I wouldn't be. I mean, I don't know if they've released the full documentation of it, but I would bet 90% of it, the government was sitting right there. If not, that was a government affiliated person.
They sued.
I didn't follow much of it.
The King family sued the government and won that case.
I'm telling you, that's a hit. right? That's a how you know it's a hit. The Mercury Dasha itself, right? It doesn't hold or behold a lot of um martial energy. So when the hit happens, it's through transit, right? The Dasha will reveal it as well to some degree because Mercury has to facilitate his role as an enemy, right? But enemies is the sixth house. But open enemies is the sixth house, meaning that it's the person that you know doesn't like you. I don't like you, you don't like me, right? We got an open, honest dislike for one another. But the 12th house is someone that's bedfellows with you, that pretends to be your friend, like the government, that pretends to be, oh, we're here to help you, buddy, right? Killing, right? That's
And
how
probably have some
that's
friends
that's
involved
12th
too.
house.
Probably have some actual friends involved in that as well.
Yeah, good old Messy Jesse. You know what I'm saying? They say Messy Jesse might have been, part of the package deal. We don't know. We can
Yeah.
surmise a whole lot, but I could tell you this much, right?
What-
That the government, without a doubt, had a major hand, if not the hand, in assassinating this man. So you can clearly see when the transits run, all those five planets dinging in the 12th house, right? That's definitely without a doubt. And I mean, that is kind of crazy. It is within the jaw. Mars is in the second house of the natal chart. That's crazy. And the second house is the jaw, right? So I mean, that's pretty heavy stuff, right? Definitely heavy stuff, right? Um,
Um, Hosea Williams has a lot to say about that because he was there too.
okay,
He,
okay.
yeah, Hosea Williams. I mean, he got an excellent reputation out here in Atlanta or
Hmm.
whatnot as far as what he's done, special. But he was there, and he got a lot to say about what was going on. So if y'all interested in hearing some inside scoop of what was going on with Dr. King at that time and stuff like that, and what happened, check him out. There's some interviews out there that he's he's spilling the beans.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check those out because when you do things hindsight, it becomes 2020, and you can see what happens with the espionage. With that 12th house type deal. Eighth house is espionage, but the 12th house is also espionage too, right?
Right.
And so, spies, people in your close quarters, they even say now, I'm not going to besmear the man's reputation because we don't know if it's true, but conjecture is that he was unfaithful, right? Um, I recall watching, I don't know what it was, and they said when they were watching Martin Luther King, they said that Martin Luther King made Malcolm X look like a monk. You know what I mean? So, you know, a lot goes on behind closed doors. And this man,
He still was a young man.
that's what I'm saying. You're young,
He's,
you have a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of things that go on, so we don't necessarily know, but it would make sense, right? That Baharani is very intense, right? And Baharani with Venus being in the 11th, a lot of times will show infidelity because because the 11th house is kind of a multiplier, right? There's certain houses that are reductionary and there's certain houses that are expansion oriented. The 11th house is many, multiple, right? So with
right.
Venus there, a lot of times many women friends, and he got Moon and Venus there, right? Now his wife was actually also a supporter, which shows the seventh lord in the 11th house, because the 11th is opposite the fifth. Venus aspects the fifth, and the fifth house is a lot of times considered what our kind of um spiritual mandate is. It's like our calling. The 10th house is, but also so is the fifth. The fifth is your purva punya, your past life credit. It's kind of what comes with you and kind of the gifts that you bring along the ride. And Venus, when it's in the 11th, looking back to the fifth, a lot of times the mate will support those talents or uphold those talents. They're an outlet for those talents, right?
Right.
So the wife, Coretta Scott King, was definitely one that was in the movement with him, alongside him. right? Many times the one that was espousing some of those tenets and some of the things that passive activism would bring. So again, right, Venus in the seventh, definitely, seventh lord in the 11th, definitely makes sense, right? Yes, it's possible that he was unfaithful, right? It's possible. And, you know, many folks in those positions, right? They're just things that are just, yeah, and granted, this is pre-internet. We didn't, you know, you barely have a phone back then, let alone a cell phone, right? Or some way to pass off, you know, crazy ideas or information. So what was done in the dark more or less kind of stayed in the dark. But there were some rumors, right, that Martin had some moments of infidelity. Not surprising, but again, you know, no one's perfect, and when we begin to look for perfection, we'll always find imperfection. So,
Right.
you know, granted, the man lived, right, and I'm saying within 40 years, 39 years, probably more than most folks would live in 3 lifetimes. I mean, it's a very intense ride when you have those planets and all those Saturnian signs, both of those Saturnian signs. It's a heavy load. And folks with Saturnian influences know what I mean, right? They feel the burden, right? They can almost smell it, right? They smell, right, the disdain, the frustration, the time that it takes to get things done.
Indeed. Yeah, Mark. I mean, you know me being a filmmaker and everything. MLK needs a real movie.
He
Like
really does.
the
Yeah,
movies that they be putting out, on him are just they're way too
milk
chatter.
toast.
you know,
They're milk
cause that
toast.
cause he lived a real life. Very, you know what I'm saying? Like a whole lot. You
Yeah,
know.
and imagine, you know, doing a film where it shows the grittiness of the movement. You know,
Right.
the 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 low points when you had to say, "Man, look, am I even considering continuing this? Right? Is this worth my life, my family?" I mean, you know, you got to consider. You don't get a regular family when you do this kind of stuff. You don't get like to go with the white picket fence and to the mall and to that doesn't happen. All that's gone, right? Normal life is no longer there. So you have put yourself and your family in harm's way, right? That's a hard task. That's a hard pill to swallow, you know.
Absolutely. And I'm not even 100% sure. I mean, it's not, in my view, especially hindsight looking at it, I wouldn't say that it's a quote unquote happy ending as people would think. Because even the result, you know what I mean? A lot of, now that we look at civil rights and stuff like that, a lot of different things, they didn't, it wasn't a result, it by far wasn't a result that they were looking for, he was looking for. And they, kind of really still ended up, putting themselves in a better position, under the guise of quote unquote integration and all these different things and whatnot. So if I did it, it had the tone at the end would be very different than what
Hmm.
somebody else would want to put, you know.
Yeah, you know, the movies that have been done for him don't probably do a tenth of what a justice of what really occurred and what it really felt like to be in those shoes, to walk in those shoes. Because I mean, you know, the animalistic reaction to someone hitting you is to hit them back, right? And I'm talking about people that did not meditate, people that did not understand self discipline in the sense of what we understand it now, right? That means that they had to use this and this as much as they could to get through those moments where a white man just walk up and bust you upside your head, right? And you can't, like, you looking at them like, I can't do nothing, right?
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
know, low in your gut, you really want to just turn around and let it. You couldn't. I mean, I'm saying the grittiness, the pain that was involved. None of those movies really show that side of it. Right? They kind of do in a way, but not in a modern way. Right? That needs to be
Yeah,
shown. That need,
yeah, it's
the
more.
graphic side. I mean, it looks good. I'm gonna say it looks more Hollywood, right? When it's done by Hollywood, but when it's done by someone that really is on the street, grassroots, and can show it from that real life perspective, I think that movie would do a lot better than the other ones have done. Even better than Selma, which to me was a sellout movie. But that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I call it slave porn because I just like I have to sit there and really like, okay, man, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna go through this because like 12 Years a Slave, I got halfway through the movie. I'm gone. I don't need to see this. I already know what it is, right? So, those movies to me, if they're not done in a way that really bridges the gap, right? To let us know that the struggle was more about having that discipline and that drive to get through the adversities rather than it being more of a kumbaya, let's all hold hands, forgive everybody type deal. Nah, that's not what, what I mean. That's to me not the real that's not the real part of the movement. Yeah, some of those things happen, but for the most part, they show it as this kind of Christian purview. Let's show it from an African purview or from a revolutionary purview, right? That would be awesome to see from as far as an MLK movie is concerned.
right,
Definitely, a
right.
revolutionary's purview is different from a Christian's because a Christian is still leaning into a Christian paradigm, whereas the revolutionary is saying that was a tactic. Let me see what the end result was.
Indeed, yeah, because he, met with Elijah Muhammad and all these different,
Mhm.
so there's a lot of elements of things that they
That don't they're
typically.
not and the last speech is why he's dead, right? Because the last speech wasn't I have a dream. The last speech says I fear that I have integrated my people into a burning house. That was the last speech, as in to say, uh-oh, maybe we took the wrong turn back in Selma, right? Maybe Montgomery wasn't supposed to go that way. Because if you're saying one side before the speech, I have a dream, right? That one day, right? And then you say right before you get killed, wait a minute, the dream might have been a nightmare, folks, because right, I have integrated you into something that is not right. That's what got him killed because they said, oh, he's woke up, gotta go.
Yeah. Let's stop. Let's
Right?
stop this damage control right now.
Stop that now. Stop that right now. Because if he flips towards Elijah and them, we got a problem.
Huge problem.
Now imagine, just imagine. Now that will be a movie to see as a what if, right? Right? If
Yeah, he
Malcolm,
said that.
if they had lived, right? If they had lived, right, it would be a different conversation. He would have probably said, look, let's not do this so passive anymore. Let's kind of do it in a way that's disruptive. Maybe we shouldn't integrate. Maybe we should fight for our own. Maybe we should do something different. They had to kill him before that because the literal word saying that I've integrated my people into a burning house tells you that he knew, right? That what we're about to go through is what we getting right now, right? And it's funny. Have you ever seen the Boondocks, right?
Mm.
They do that special, right? And the special's like, is this what I got kicked and beat up for? I'm moving to Canada, right? But you know what I mean? I mean, that
Yeah,
was a very valid show, right? Imagine him coming back now and then seeing what we have become or not become, really. right? You'd be like, man, that was for nothing, right? That was so we can
Well,
have an Obama, right? I mean, it's just yeah, it's crazy, but definitely, man, if you make that movie, you gotta cast me in it.
cash.
Gotta cast me in it, man.
Indeed, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, man. I mean, this is I'm reading a book right now called "The Negro in Business" by Booker T. Washington. I think it came
Mm-hmm.
out. I think it came out in like 1917, 1907, or something. One of those, right? But as reading the book, he highlights a lot of different successful black entrepreneurs in that time, right? And I'm wondering, it always kind of like, all right, what was the gap between Booker T. Washington and the Civil Rights Movement? Why at this particular time, this particular group of black people abandoned that ideology that Booker T. Washington was coming with at that time? It's just something that I've been, exploring right now because it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a different tone.
Civil rights movement was
Yeah,
safer, less
but he
economically threatening.
right. But see, he had a reputation of being a quote unquote safe, but he wasn't.
Safe
he
is a
really
it's
he wasn't.
appearances to be safe.
Yeah,
The long game is not safe, right?
right.
The long game is like, yeah, if he catches on in 50 years, we really got a problem, right? Civil rights movement was a checkers move,
Right.
right? We're talking chess, different game.
What? Yeah, it was a checkers move, but they played at chess. They were
No, oh
playing
no,
chess.
the opponent was playing chess. We were playing checkers.
Indeed.
He had
That's
kings, queens, knights, rooks, and pawns. We had little chips and trying to jump, not understanding there's rules to this, right? And
right.
so, one a dog eat dog type of mentality, right, gets you to where they put you into a trick. This is all by design. Integration was the best thing that could happen, right, for them, because then you get to control. What do they always tell you? Keep your enemy what?
Close.
Right? Because if you keep your enemy close, right, you always know what your enemy's up to. In fact, your enemy will tell you what he's doing. And we do. We get right on YouTube. We get right on the Black Summit, tell all our business. We tell everything we're gonna do and give them blow by blow instruction, date, time, and place, personage, right? And then talk about Viva la causa, right? Revolution, power to the people. How you gonna have a revolution? You can't even get along with your wife, with your mate. Ain't no revolution, right? That's done, right? Time to build inside, not out. So, I definitely respect and honor Dr. Martin Luther King for his contributions, his sacrifices, his dedication. I think that he was a great man, right? And like I said, I would never, ever put myself in anywhere near comparison to a man with those types of shoes. Do we agree on everything? No. But nonetheless, we don't all have to agree in order to fight for the salvation and for the upliftment of black people. So, with that said, I definitely, rest in power, rest in peace. We do appreciate, the sacrifices that were made. And on that note, before I forget, I also want to send a special rest in peace, rest in power shout out to Runoku Rashidi. He passed on Monday in Egypt, in Kemet, during his tours, doing what he loved to do the most. He is a prolific author, um, profound and insightful black man that gave voluminous amounts of information. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the scholars that we have that has painstakingly sacrificed their life for the betterment of our people through knowledge, through information. and through conveying, right, the hidden kind of things that are hidden from us in plain sight. The man traveled the world. I mean,
Yeah, he was Ivan Van Sertima's like right hand.
yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, one of the books I use to teach thoroughly in my classes, African Presence in Early Asia.
Hmm.
You that book. I mean, this is class. These are classics, folks. These are written, 20, 30 years ago. So Uh, if you get your hands on them, it's still a treasure to this day. But those books are, those books resurrect the greatness of our people to show you that you were worldwide. You were in Europe. They have an African presence in early Europe. They have an African presence in early America. They have an African presence in early Asia. So all these books should be part of your library for your children, your children's children, to get an understanding about the history and the greatness of our people. So I just want to again say, rest in power, brother Ronaku Rashidi. You definitely are, will be missed, and will, I'm sure, be well received by the ancestors, and will not be forgotten or unremembered. So thank you.
Indeed, absolutely, indeed. Um, for those who want to know, that last speech was called from Dr. Martin Luther King is "I've been to the mountaintop." So
There it
you
is.
can,
Now, and that's something. I've been
yeah,
there, and let me tell you what I saw.
yeah,
Didn't look too good on the other side, folks.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
y'all could definitely go check that out.
But he did say it, and it shocked me. And there's more to it that he said. I mean, it's way deeper than that, right? That's just a catchphrase that it stuck. But he said, I fear I have integrated my people into a burning building." When white folk heard that, yep, Jim, call Billy, right? Get the rounds ready, right? We're going hunting, right? And and they got some crack shots, right? Hit you from a mile away, right? So granted,
Right.
right. That last speech showed the tone, the temperament, and the ideology of where he was headed, and it was not passive.
Indeed. Indeed. So, as usual, um, this episode was brought to you by Pushing Forward Media Group, Caliprucia Astrology, and our good people over there on Patreon. Big up to y'all and whatnot. We want to thank you all for definitely tuning in and stuff like that. This is a great show or whatnot, man. I've only seen maybe a couple charts. A couple people try to break down Martin Luther King's chart and stuff like that. But like I always say, you ain't gonna find this out there. So definitely share this with your people. Let people know what's going on and stuff like that. It's different perspective on MLK utilizing the objective science of astrology, sidereal astrology to be more specific or whatnot. But without further ado, like I said, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week, same day, another great show, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.